I just didn't understand why so much loss and trauma and grief and death in my life. But I definitely knew that there's something, there's something that I'm supposed to do with this. We had Jalen in 94, and then I got pregnant again in 2005 with a girl. So Jalen was 10, and I was pregnant with my daughter. This was my first loss. I was 20 weeks pregnant when I went into preterm labor with my daughter. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks trying to save the pregnancy, save the baby.
Right. Yeah.
But I was unable to do that. My water broke, and I wasn't far along enough in my pregnancy for her to survive. So I had to give birth to her knowing that she was going to be stillborn. I don't know, I can't speak for all women, but I know myself, like I always wanted a daughter. So I had my son. Jalen was 10. I gave birth to Jaden. She was stillborn. And so that was in 2005. And then in 2007, Brian passed away. So Jaden was my first loss. I lost my daughter to stillborn. Then my first husband in 2007, he passed away. And I always stress the importance of mental health. My husband passed away from suicide. And that was in 2007. So Jalen at that time was 13 when he lost his dad.
Wow.
And then in 2014, when Jalen was 20, he passed away in a car accident.
Wow.
So those were the 3 major losses I've had in my life. I've also lost both of my grandparents, who helped my mom to raise me. So that was difficult as well. But of course, nobody ever plans on, having to bury their children. And I've had to do that twice. So I know that I thought for the longest time, this is not for me to sit on. This is for me to share when I'm to a point where I can encourage somebody, because I haven't always felt that way. But I know that I don't want their lives to be in vain. I want to share, to bring awareness to mental health, to bring awareness to preterm labor and just grief and loss, period.
Right. That is just, I think it's a lot. I mean, losing one person, close related, losing one person is a lot. Then when you lose another person, it's a lot. And then when you lose another close person to you, it's just devastating to lose one person. Then to lose 3 people, I don't even know how you managed, and I want to even say how you manage now as we speak. I don't believe there's a God anymore. So this is the reality that some people do think, especially when something so devastating happens to them, a loss of a person. It's like, God, but if you love me, why are you taking this person that's away from me? That is the mindset that can happen in some people's minds. So what I want to know is how you still gain your faith, or how you still have your faith in God, even though you have lost somebody. Do you feel that it's God that's taken that person from you? Do you blame God? Is this like, God, why did you do this to me? What's the process in your mind when it comes to losing all the people that you have lost in your life?
Well, there were definitely times that I did question God. I think that I didn't feel like I had a right to be angry with God because I know that we're not supposed to be. But deep down inside, if I'm being completely honest, with myself, I was angry. I was hurt. I
Mm,
didn't understand. And I always question, what is this for? Show me if
mm,
I'm supposed to do something with this. And I always said that if there is something in this, it's not for me, it's for somebody else. As far as um to benefit someone else. You know how they say that things happen
mm.
in our life for a reason, and that there are better things ahead of us and things like that. I'm
Mm,
like, no, not for me. It's not. This must be my testimony. Must be for somebody else because it's there's nothing good in my life that could come out of all of this loss. It must be
wow.
for somebody else. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. It makes sense. I think that sometimes when we go through so much hurt in our life, pain, struggles, just all manner of things, it's like this can't be about me anymore. This must be to help somebody else. And I think
Yes.
that is yeah, and I do feel that's another way to cope because actually sometimes on our worst days, when we help another person, we do feel better in some way. We do. When we help other people, we feel like, okay, something within feels full.
About how everyone grieves differently. I actually grieved each loss differently. Um,
Oh,
with
yeah.
my first husband,
Mm,
we were in the middle of a separation, so that was a different type of grieving process with him. And then even with my children, with Jaden, I would grieve and wonder what would have been. I didn't have any memories with her. So I would always wonder what would she have looked like.
mm,
Just all the what ifs. Um, and what if I've went to the doctor sooner? Would she still be here? That's I agreed what I never knew of her, what I never had, what would have been. And with Jalen, I grieved both ways. I had all these memories with him, 20 years worth of memories with him. And so I grieved, and that's the hardest one.
sis, take your time, sis. Yeah. Take your time, sis. You got this. Take your time. Take your time. Yeah. You're doing extremely well. Just share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. You share anything you feel comfortable.
Um, well, with Jalen, I grieved what was, and all the memories that we had, and then also what could have been,
Mm,
what would he have been doing for a living. At the time, he was working two jobs. He had his own place. Would he have had kids? Would he have gotten married? All of those things. And so I did grieve even my children in a different way, and of course they were
yeah.
different people. So
Mm,
I think that is that's normal. And I try to hold on to I've tried to hold on to my faith. I do know that even in my darkest days, that it had to have been God to get me through, because I sure did not do it myself. Uh,
wow.
or at my own will, because I just really wanted to give up. But I know that when God gave me Javon, he knew exactly what he was doing, because I would do anything for my children. So I may have given up on myself, but I would never give up on Javon. So that is what kept me moving forward,
Mm, yeah.
was my son. And you know he was from God, so I knew that. I'm sorry.
No, take your time. Take your time. Everyone's sending you a lot of love in the chat. You're doing awesome. Yeah,
Thank you.
Kalista says you are doing great, Demitra. Breathe. She's telling you to breathe. Take your time, sis. You're doing awesome. It's not easy. This is not an easy topic to discuss. Very sensitive. It's always going to be dear to your heart. This takes
Yes.
courage. It's always going to be dear to your heart. You're always going to have this feeling, sis. It's not an easy thing to discuss at all. Do you understand? It's not. So, God bless you. Yes, Kenny says, God bless you. I believe that Destiny O says, what a faith. Yeah, faith, to still continue this life and to still come here and share this story to just help and encourage somebody. I mean, hats off to you. Honestly, did you deal with guilt or blame yourself?
I did. I did. In all three situations, I did.
Really?
Yes. With my first husband, I wondered if I had stayed for us to try to work it out, would he have not did what he did? With Jaden, I asked myself if I had went to the doctor earlier, would she had made it? And with Jalen, the car accident that he was in, he didn't have his seatbelt on and he was ejected from the vehicle. And they said that the police or somebody at that time, maybe the coroner, I'm not really sure, said that if he had had his seatbelt on, then he would have survived. And I would always remind Jalen to wear his seatbelt. And I didn't talk to him that day. And so I was like, in my mind, I thought, what if I should have called him to remind him to wear his seatbelt. So yes, in all three situations, I did have guilt. I did blame myself in one way or another.
But that's had, sis. Do you still feel guilty now, or is this before?
That's before. I don't have those feelings anymore, but it took some time, and it's been a journey to get through all of those things. And I'm still working things out. I'm in therapy to try to pull some of this stuff out of me. And this is really, today is therapeutic for me, just opening up about it, because I do suppress so much. I don't talk about it on a regular basis. So that there is life after loss. You can continue to grieve someone and the loss and live your life at the same time, because I did one or the other for the longest time, and I'm just now learning to navigate on how to do both. When I told you I sat in my grief and I didn't do anything, and so that was my grieving period, but then I started suppressing so that I could function through life and go to work and take care of my son and all those things. That was me getting back to life, but now I'm trying to navigate, but I was suppressing my grief. So I did one, and then I did the other. So now I'm learning how to intertwine those things, how to still be able to think about my son in a loving way, think about my daughter in a loving way, or even in a hurtful, sad way, but still be able to enjoy life.
An easy conversation or even a topic, but I definitely know that it's necessary, because I feel that a lot of people will feel encouraged, inspired, and blessed from such a story. And I do believe it will also help with the healing process that you're also going through now. Some things are unexplainable, and I don't think we all have the answers for some things that happen in life. But what I do know is that God has been your strength throughout this process. I do know that God has had you and had his hand over your life since all this is happening. And I do believe that he is still your strength, and he will use your story to comfort other people. So it's like you're chosen, not necessarily for bad, but what I mean is that you're chosen in such a time and this experience to actually encourage others, help others. And this is what it is. So yeah, we do go through things in our life. Nothing is going to be perfect. Everyone's got a story. I have my story. There's things that break my heart daily. But I know that, like Demitra says, that at the end of the day, could this be that I'm supposed to help somebody else? Could this be that I'm supposed to actually touch somebody's heart through the story that I'm going through, or through the pain that I'm going through? Yeah, so it's very hard to talk about and to deal with. And Angela Fireman says, I feel tearful. I do too. Not easy discussion, not easy conversation, but I'm so happy and I'm grateful for all the loving words that you guys are flooding on Demitra today.